So guys, we were back with our Copo, Colorado. We did a video on this thing a little bit earlier, and it was absolutely nuts. The owner was very pleased with it, and he just wanted a little bit more power. So we're improving something that has already been an absolutely ridiculous build to make it even faster. So guys, this video is sponsored by Cove, and we do absolutely love this Cove commuter. We've been using this thing for months, and we're absolutely in love with it. It's so convenient, you can take it anywhere with you. It's about the size of a soda can. You can fit it into the center console and the cup holder, you throw it in a backpack, you take it to the beach, do whatever, and take it off-roading. And it gets loud. Now this is working off my Bluetooth, and if you don't have Bluetooth, you can have the 3.5mm audio jack, plug it into just about whatever. We've been using this thing all over the shop for months, like I said. We've gotten up to 8 hours of use on one single charge out of this thing. So it really does perform well, it's very resilient, we've dropped it, we've done all sorts of stuff with it, and it keeps on ticking. And guys, this right here, this is the Cove Solitude. Now we're in here doing some porting or grinding or whatever else we're doing that's making a whole bunch of noise. We're not killing our ears. We can actually listen to music, and the noise canceling of the Solitude works fantastic. So Cove had a very similar idea when they designed the Solitude, and the fact that it is very nice and comfortable to take with you, it's very lightweight, and it has a really good capacity for charge. Now you can get almost 12 hours out of a full charge out of these. And not to mention the fact that sound quality is really impressive. And just like the commuter, they're both Bluetooth, and they have the 3.5mm audio jack. So guys, check out that coupon code. We've had a whole bunch of people buy these in the past, and they've all come back and said that they absolutely love them. It's Fasterproms. Check it out. Now, let's get back to the video. All right, one of the most common things that you get as a tuner, or anybody that is swapping stuff over, the biggest problems are intake and exhaust. Poor induction and poor exhaust are probably the number one, number two reasons why a swap wouldn't make as much power as it would in the native vehicle. The engineering is just not there. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to overcome that. Now this truck right here had a okay cold air, but we saw some improvements that we most certainly could make. So last time we had this truck, we had ported the Supercharger, okay, and we had made somewhere about, I think we made it about 727 wheel horsepower. Now that is with the 85 and with methanol. Now, on that same note, we've done a few other improvements. So we have ported this out to 102mm. And this is a Nick Williams 102mm throttle body. It's an absolutely exquisite metallic work of art. In order for this to fit, we had to make a remote mount for it. This couldn't fit in here without us really having to revise the way that the radiator was sitting. So again, we're having to deal with some of the shortcomings of what we have, and before the airbox just had something like this. Now what we're going to try and do is have our induction come through here. So we're going to open this guy up a little bit more, we're going to seal the bottom, and we're going to seal the top, so that really our only source for air is going to be ambient air, nothing that is going to be coming from under the hood. Underhood air is one of the biggest thieves of robbing power. As air temperature goes up, the air density goes down. So even though you might be getting more airflow, a lot of aftermarket cold air intakes might get you more airflow while the hood is up, and they might dyno even pretty good. But when you close the hood and you're going down the road, the air temperature soars. And with that, the problem herein lies that really just kind of negated any of the gains that you just made. So we're trying to stay away from that. With this, we had a couple of other little issues. This might seem incredibly simple, but it's not. We have a filter, and we're very limited on space. The filter should have enough square inches to where it would flow very well. We typically would run this on a CTS V3. So we're using this filter, and we had to weld in that mass airflow adapter, but our methanol is not going to work being this close to our MAF. So what we had to do is we put the methanol inside this tube right here. Now that has vacuum. So that leads to the next problem, is that we're going to have to run a solenoid that we purchased from Alky Control. And this is an Alky Control kit, but instead of just one nozzle, we're running two nozzles. So with those two nozzles, they will have to go into here, and there is the solenoid of what we're going to use. So that is triggered differently so that we're not sucking in methanol while we're under vacuum. All right, last time I didn't really get to show you guys underneath this thing. It has no expense spared. It is an absolute work of art. So I love the fuel cell. I love how the exhaust is all set up. We had a little exhaust rattle, so we were welding in something right there to keep those guys from rattling against each other. And the 4-link, not to mention that it has a 9-inch with the 4-link, which is pretty darn sweet. Coilovers on the front and the back. This is a 6L90 transmission, and that is an absolute beast. That thing will handle a lot of torque. The other super cool part about this whole vehicle is that it has the active intercooler. And what that does is when you turn on the AC, it cools the air charge for the supercharger. So when we run the AC, we're cooling all of the liquid that is going into the blower. And these 28-inch tall tires, I believe it's about a 10.5-inch width radial. But even then, these things were a tire blistering beast. All right, so that was the old cold air, and the way that it was set up, not that that's really going to inhibit the flow that much, but it is a little bit. So what we decided to do was put that elbow there. That is a 4.5-inch. And so once again, we're doing a larger throttle body, a bigger elbow. We have ported the blower to a 102 millimeter, and we're adding a second methanol nozzle. All of which should be able to improve the performance in one aspect or another. So as we can see, we got a nice clear shot into where the air filter is going to reside there. So you're making a puzzle. I like your perforated lines versus your shift.
Ooh,
that's a bend, that's a bend, that's a bend, that's a cut.
Oh, that's a cut. George's being the smart one. How do you like those Copo headphones?
What's he selling? Chocolate!
Oh, you almost got it. Yeah, let's take some of you. Gotta be though.
When I've done this on this one right here, this thing, I like your wiggle technique. That's actually probably going to make it work. Basically, your opening on that blade right there is so much smaller. It can't twist and tweak as much because it's got support there. This thing, the blade will pop off a lot of times. You get, but I can't believe you got that. Jeez, it's pretty good. Laz got his new toys, Colecos, making good use of them. Pretty awesome little tool there. All right, so we'll have multiple nutserts. This is our little, it's kind of very much like another product that's out there for a CTSV, but it swipes the air in, and basically we're directing a decent amount of airflow into our air box. So tomorrow we'll make the top lid of that and be able to get everything all hidden away there. We got to drill another hole for our methanol, but as you can see where the nozzle is right there, we'll have another one just behind it. Should be able to clean all that up and get this thing fired up and running. So guys, when building an air box, what we do is we trace it out with cardboard. You saw how we had done that. We made our points of where we need to make the leaves. That can be very time consuming and or bends. You mock it all up, or you lay it all out as a template. You put it on some ABS plastic, like what we have right here. Cut all that out on a bandsaw or a jigsaw. You can be able to make this. Now, what we have also is the riv nut tool. So Laz now has that. That's about a $30 tool, and I think one of the other ones that we have is maybe 80 bucks. Really, really nice pieces right there. So we can be able to fasten to that. I think we got our top, which Laz has. We just went to the store, got some fasteners. This thing is gonna look very OEM. Now, I wanted to show you guys the methanol kit. We got our second nozzle in there right now, and we'll just kind of demonstrate what that looks like when that's spraying hard. So that's a 10 gallon per hour and a 15 gallon per hour nozzle right there. In short, that's a crap ton of methanol. Right now we're just injecting water for a test. Yeah, man. That's a pretty lengthy purge. I can tell you're a nitrous junkie right there. Okay, Skeeter. All right, so Laz, this is the $30 unit right here.
Yeah, something like that.
Not your favorite? This one right here is the $80 unit. And you said this one's only standard?
We only have the metric for it. So we just need to order the standard fitting.
Ah, okay. But she's a pretty nice piece. Well, there she is all together, final painted, all assembled. That thing should be pretty darn effective. We took out some more material down in there, and that is a good funnel into the airbox right there. So that should be pretty darn effective. Just giving everything a once over before we start making some big pulls on the dyno. All right, guys, got the Colorado on the dyno here, and had to make a lot of adjustments for the mass airflow because we went from a smaller pipe to a larger pipe. So the map sees a lot less airflow. So I've had to add roughly about 29% fuel. It's a beast though. So we're already up almost 30 wheel over where we're at there. And I didn't even make a full pull yet. All right, bear with me. The wind is a little bit wild, and I'm just resting the camera on the airbox right now. So we're actually up over 36 horsepower in certain areas right there. That's actually 38 horsepower, probably about 5,900 RPM. The tack isn't working right, so I'm having to cross-reference the mile an hour versus the RPM. We're looking good. We should be able to have more of a separation the higher I spin it. All right, I got another very interesting tidbit of information here. We added that second methanol nozzle. We had water that we were testing it with. Now, I think we're gradually getting more and more methanol. I made 2 pulls back to back. The first one was kind of a shakedown, so I wanted to see the difference. The second pull was a lot richer, indicating that we were having more methanol. So it's just one of those things when you add a new methanol kit, you might have a moving air fuel even though you have 0 variable changes. So that's what I'm chasing right now. Interesting, we'll figure it out. Air temperature looks really good, and I haven't even turned on the active interchiller yet. So, learning every run. So I had an old data log of the Copo. I checked out the boost of what it was running before, and this one actually still had the active interchiller on it. So that will make a little bit more boost because it's got a denser air. Now we're not running the active interchiller yet. So the old boost was 215 kPa. All right, so that is right about 16.7 pounds of boost. It's making about 219 kPa, so we almost picked up a pound of boost just on the throttle body size and the cold air, indicating that we were having a limitation there. So it looks like we did pick up that about all the way across the board. And on the top end, it looks like we actually picked up right at about a pound of boost. 215 kPa on the top end right there at 6,000 RPM, and we still have yet more to rev this. It's always encouraging to see that our mods are reaping the rewards of what we were hoping that they were supposed to. All right, we're gonna get nerdy with this, all right? So I'm gonna talk nerdy to you. It's very interesting how before we could really see where the limitation of airflow was. So very, very little of a difference down low, but as we went higher and higher and higher in the RPMs. So when I start the pull right there, that's about 3,500 RPM. Where I end the pull, that's about 6,400 RPM. So the difference at 6,400 RPM is about 59 wheel horsepower. Now peak to peak, we see about 41 horsepower. So it was 727 before, but right now we're picking up very solid power with those modifications. So I'm extremely happy with how that's turned out so far. To completely cover how this is all working, now we haven't even turned on the active interchiller yet, so we're gonna try that and see if we can get some cooler, denser air then yet. But this is just the air box, the air filter, the 102 Nick Williams throttle body, the 4.5-inch remote mount pipe, and we ported the throttle body to, or ported the snout to a 102 millimeter. Those are the only modifications, no more extra boost. The only reason we're seeing extra boost is because we've alleviated a restriction before, so now we are able to be able to make more boost because it's getting to blower. All right, I got virtually no, I got a very, very, very small gain on the air fuel, but nothing really notable power-wise. Still same power, but right now, we're gonna leave this guy on, crank up the AC for the active interchiller, and see if we can get those air temps really far down to make some better power yet. All right, well, we were hoping for a little bit more power, and that's just pretty much always the way that it is with the active interchiller. Now, we let this thing cool down a while. We dropped our IAT2, so that is basically the coolant temp of the blowers. There's an intake air temperature sensor right here. That one we got dropped about over 20 degrees on that last pull. However, everything in front of that got a little hotter. Now, we had fans blowing into the cold air box and through the AC condenser as well. Now, that heat goes onto our intake tube. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. You can't have everything totally perfect. So even though that went down, that went up. Now, when we're going down the road, that should be a little bit cooler all the way through. Hopefully, we're evacuating as much of the heat as possible. We'll just have to wait and see how it does on the street. But no matter how you cut it, we definitely picked up a very substantial amount of power, and I'm very, very pleased with the overall result. So right there, we see in excess of a 50 wheel horsepower gain, right about, I think that's about 6,300, 6,400 RPM. We did pick up some on the bottom end, even though it was smaller, but the difference was greater. So this is really basically showing the alleviation of a restriction of what we had before.
Tire too that spins so easily.
Yeah, there's a particular burnout. Oh, we passed it back here.
I just get out, take a photo of type of rig.
Well, it kind of made me grin a little bit every time I passed it.
Oh,
I was like,
I did that. Some butterflies in your stomach.
So it's totally filled up on fuel, and last time I think I still had maybe 20 pounds of air in the tire. Now we're down to like 16 pounds of air in the tire, and they got all much weight as they can put back there, so we'll see if we can get some traction, but we just gained another 50 up top, so.
And I need to break out my calculator to figure all this out. That just went over. All I understood is lots of changes much fast. So wow. Oh, this tack goes all the way up to 8, Jeremy. Man.
Should I do that?
Oh, it was I kind of pedaled out and then pedaled back in. It was fighting for traction, but it found it.
I think we were just spinning too much there, and I was kind of wanting to pedal into it and see how we go. Let's try it again. Oh! Look at the flickers up there. That was not full throttle.
Yeah, I love positive displays with blowers.
Yeah, it was like I tried to give it full throttle and then couldn't, and then, man, they're actually really recovering very well, and coolant tip's good, so. Definitely this tire pressure though has really helped, because it was like scary hairy before.
And a neighbor we used to call Scary Harry.
Huh.
Alright guys, well, you know the deal. Keep it real. Bog Skeeter. I don't know, something like that. What do you say at the end? God bless America. What do you say at the end? I don't know if that's recording. I can't see the red light. You're like, why did you cover the red light? That's creepy.
Yeah, it is actually. I like this little thing though that Cletus got.
I think that's illegal in some states to not have the red flashing light.
I don't think so about that. Maybe in the bathroom, perhaps.
In the bathroom,
I've been warned a
have
couple
any
times.
camera. Red light or not.
Frowned upon that at the local YMCA.
Alright, I'm done with this.
Guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Cooper's always a blast to take out. He's always got something smart alecky to say. Freaking cracks me up, man. Want to say thank you guys so much for your support with all of our merch. We wouldn't be able to do this without you, so thank you so much for your continued support. So just got in our new Underdog Racing shirts. Those were available for pre-order for a while and finally got them in and done and printed, as well as our other Fasterproms shirt. Freaking love that shirt. So guys, we had a couple items here that we're going to be giving away over the next couple of weeks. The 104-piece tool set is awesome for your car or truck if you got any sort of problems. So this is signed by the PFI boys, George, Cletus, James, Cooper, Laz. So we'll select a couple random winners, and we appreciate the support that you guys have given us. So thank you guys so much. God bless you. We'll see you next episode.